There's a blind man in Central Park with a sign that says, "I am blind." His cup has a few coins. An advertising executive walks by, adds 4 words to the sign, and suddenly people are emptying their wallets. What 4 words changed everything, and why does it reveal the number one skill you need to move anyone? Before I tell you what those 4 words were, you need to understand why they worked. Because if you just copy the tactic without the framework, you'll be like everyone else solving the wrong problems. Here's what most people believe. Sales is for salespeople. Sleazy car dealers, pushy insurance agents, people with bad suits and worse intentions. But Daniel Pink spent 2 weeks analyzing his calendar, his emails, his conversations, and he realized something simple but uncomfortable. He's selling every day. Not just books. He's selling ideas to editors, selling strategies to nonprofits, even selling his 9-year-old on taking a shower. And the crazy part is you're doing it too. Every pitch deck, every negotiation, every time you need someone to choose you, fund you, listen to you, that's all selling. And here's the uncomfortable truth. You're probably terrible at it because you're using an outdated model, one that worked when sellers had information and buyers didn't, but that world is dead. The old way was simple. Find the problem, solve it, close the deal. The better you were at solving problems, the more successful you'd be. That was true when buyers couldn't solve problems themselves, when they needed you for information. Today, your buyers can Google anything. They can comparison shop in 30 seconds. They can crowdsource opinions from 1,000 strangers. So if they have a clear problem such as, "I need a vacuum cleaner," they don't need you. They'll solve it themselves. You're only valuable when they have the wrong problem or when they don't know they have a problem at all. This is the shift from problem solving to problem finding, and it changes everything. Let me show you what that looks like. In the 1960s, psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi brought a group of art students into a studio. He placed 27 random objects on a table and gave them one instruction: create a still life drawing. And instantly the room split into 2 types of people. Some students grabbed a few objects, sketched fast, and finished quickly. They were focused on one thing: how do I get this done? They were the problem solvers. But the other students took their time. They picked objects up, rotated them, rearranged them, tried different combinations. They weren't asking, "How do I finish?" They were asking, "What could this become?" They were the problem finders. Then experts judged the artwork, and the results were clear. The problem finders didn't just make better drawings. They made more creative ones. But here's the part that matters most. They followed these students for 18 years. And when they looked at who actually became successful professional artists, it wasn't the fast finishers. It was the explorers, the problem finders. Because the truth is simple. The quality of the problem you find determines the quality of the solution you create. Think about the last time someone tried to help you, and it felt off. Like they were solving a problem you didn't even have. Giving advice that sounded smart but missed the point. That's what problem solving looks like without problem finding. Now think about someone who asked you one question, and suddenly you saw everything differently. Not because they fixed it, but because they helped you see it. That's problem finding. Let's make this real. Imagine you're a salesperson for a candy company. You walk into a retailer. The old approach sounds like this: "How many cases of Mentos do you want to order?" That's problem solving. You're helping them answer one boring question: "How much candy should I stock?" The Ralph Shobin at Perfetti Van Mel trains his salespeople differently. They don't walk in as order takers. They walk in like consultants. Instead of asking what the store wants to buy, they ask what the store is struggling with. How is your candy section performing overall? Which categories are underperforming? What's your traffic pattern like? What are customers picking up, and what are they ignoring? Because here's what problem finders understand. The biggest opportunities usually aren't obvious. Maybe the retailer carries 7 flavors of Mentos, but 5 would sell better, move faster, and free up space. Maybe they're missing a competitor's product that would actually lift the entire category and increase total sales, not just one brand. So the outcome is different. Chauvin salespeople aren't just selling candy. They're selling insight. They're selling better decisions. They're selling performance. Now take a totally different situation. You want your team to adopt a new project management tool. Problem solving sounds like this. This tool is better than what we're using. Here are the features. Here's the pricing. But problem finding sounds like this. What's actually breaking our workflow right now? Is it that we can't track progress? That priorities aren't clear? That deadlines keep slipping? Or that we're wasting 3 hours a week in meetings that should have been async? See the difference? Problem solving starts with your solution. Problem finding starts with their reality. Here's a quick diagnostic. Think about your last pitch. A project, an idea, a sale, anything. Did you start by explaining what you offer? Or did you start by uncovering what was missing? Because if you start with your solution, you're in the first group, the shrinking group. Quick self-test. On a scale of 1 to 10, do you lead with your solution? Or do you start by discovering their situation? If you're at a 7 or above, you're an explainer, a problem solver. If you're at a 4 or below, you're a problem finder. And if you're stuck at 5 or 6, that's the danger zone, because inconsistency kills trust. And this is where most people hit the wall. They understand the idea, but the moment they're in the conversation, they freeze. Do I ask open-ended questions or direct ones? Do I validate first or challenge them? Do I guide them gently or call out what they're avoiding? And even if you find the right problem, you still have one job left. Frame it so it lands. Because a problem only becomes powerful when someone sees it and feels like they need to do something about it. Remember the blind man in Central Park? His original sign said, "I am blind." That's a fact. That's a problem. But it doesn't move people. Then an advertising executive, Rosser Reeves, walked by and added 4 words. Same situation, same need, but a completely different frame. Because suddenly, people didn't just understand he was blind, they felt it. They could see the sunshine. They could see the colors. They could see spring. And in that exact moment, they realized he couldn't. That contrast created empathy. And empathy created action. That's what Daniel Pink calls clarity. The ability to help people see their situation in a fresh, more revealing way. But here's the catch. You can't do this consistently in your head. You need a system, a way to repeat it on demand. You need a diagnostic to identify what kind of constraint you're dealing with, a framing protocol to make the real problem undeniable, a question bank that exposes hidden issues fast, a contrast framework that makes abstract problems feel real. Because without tools like this, you'll default back to what feels safe, problem solving. Not because you're bad at persuasion, but because you'll keep answering the problem you see. This is exactly why I built the problem finding toolkit. Because here's what I learned from this whole framework. Daniel Pink gives you the insight that problem finding matters more than problem solving. But he doesn't give you the system to actually do it. So you finish the book inspired, and then you walk into a real meeting, a pitch, a sales call, a negotiation, and suddenly you realize you don't know what to ask. You don't know what to listen for. You don't know what the real problem even is. And without noticing, you fall back into the default. You start pitching your solution. That's what this toolkit fixes. Here's what's inside. First, there's the 5-question diagnostic. It helps you identify the real constraint in under 7 minutes. Then there's the framing protocol. It gives you 4 different ways to take any problem and make it clear, sharp, and compelling. Then there's the contrast template. Because the fastest way to make people feel a problem is to show them the before and the after. Then there's the question bank. 27 high-leverage questions, organized by constraint type, so you're not guessing what to ask anymore. And finally, the pitch bridge. This is the part that helps you connect their problem to your solution without sounding pushy or salesy or like you're forcing it. And here's the core idea. You can't find powerful problems on the spot. Not consistently, not when you're under pressure, not when you actually care about the outcome. You need a system you can walk in with. Because once you know the constraint type, you instantly know what kind of problem finder you need to become. Do you need to uncover missing information? Do you need to ask better questions? Do you need to reframe their goals? Do you need to expose the real trade-off they're avoiding? And once you have the right frame, everything gets easier. You're not memorizing a script. You're using a structure, so you stay natural, but you still sound confident. Here's what's happening right now. Whether you realize it or not, people are splitting into two groups. The first group finishes this video and thinks, interesting. Then they go right back to what they've always done. They walk into conversations and lead with their solution. They keep answering questions nobody asked. They keep pushing ideas that don't land. And they keep getting ignored. The second group hears this and realizes something different. Problem finding isn't a personality trait. It's not you either have it or you don't. It's a skill, a system, something you can install. So instead of guessing, they use a diagnostic. They learn the framework. They start uncovering problems that actually matter. And 6 months from now, Group 1 is still confused, still frustrated, still wondering why nobody listens. But Group 2, they're getting promoted, they're getting funded, they're getting taken seriously, and the difference isn't talent. It's infrastructure. One group has a system. The other group is improvising. So the only question is, which group are you in? But here's the part most people still can't do. They can't find real problems in real time, not in the moments that actually matter. A high-stakes meeting, a sales call, a negotiation, a conversation where one wrong move makes the whole room shut down. Because problem finding isn't just about asking better questions. It depends on two other skills Daniel Pink talks about. The first is attunement. That's your ability to read the person in front of you, to understand what they actually mean and what they actually need, even when they don't say it clearly. The second is buoyancy. That's your ability to stay steady when you hear no, when someone pushes back, when they reject your framing, when the conversation gets uncomfortable. Because here's the truth, you can have the best diagnostic in the world, but if you can't read people accurately, you'll solve the wrong problem. And if you can't handle rejection, you'll quit right before the breakthrough. That's why Module 2 exists. It's called How to Read Anyone, the Attunement System, and it builds directly on everything you've learned so far. In this module, you'll learn the 3 rules of attunement, why your personality matters less than you think, and the one mistake that actually makes you worse at reading people, the more skilled you become. But here's the key. This module only works after the first one, because you can't attune to people if you don't know what you're listening for. And what you're listening for is the real problem. The hidden constraint, the thing they can't name yet, but it's controlling everything. Oh, and those 4 words the executive added. It is springtime, and I am blind. He didn't give the man a better solution. He gave people a clearer problem. Not a blind man needs help, but look at what you can see right now and realize he can't. That contrast created empathy, and empathy created action. That's the power of problem finding. I built the problem finding toolkit because this is what you need to actually execute everything you just learned. It includes a 7-minute diagnostic that tells you what kind of constraint you're dealing with, plus the template so you're not improvising, and the question structures you can use in real situations. Meetings, sales calls, negotiations, all of it. The link is in the description, because you can't do this in your head in the middle of a conversation. Not when there's pressure. Not when time is tight. You need infrastructure, something that bridges the gap between understanding the concept and actually using it. So if this clicked for you, grab it and work through it tonight. Not later, but tonight, while it's still fresh. Because 6 months from now, you're either finding problems that actually matter, or you're still pitching solutions nobody asked for. And if you're in, comment finder. I want to see who's actually doing this.